Hello and welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic. Now today I'm going to have a look at a puzzle sent to us by Jasper Briels from the Netherlands. He says it's from his paper and it's Calcudoku as it's called. Now this sort of puzzle has another name as well. Calcudoku is obviously a portmanteau based on calculation and Sudoku, but it's also called Ken, and I think reasonably heavily marketed in the States, at least under that name, and it's got quite an interesting history. It grew up, I think, about 10 years ago as kind of the next Sudoku, and its particular fans have sort of always thought it would catch on a bit more than it has. But I remember competing a few years ago in the Mind Sports Olympiad. Instead of a Sudoku competition one year, they had a Sudoku and Ken competition. And I turned up to that, and rather to my surprise, what you'll normally see in Ken or Calcudoku is 6x6 grids with the numbers 1 to 6, possibly sometimes 7x7. That competition had one 6x6, one 7x7, one 8x8, and one 9x9, like this one. And that really blew the minds of people who weren't used to puzzles like this. It was like an extreme variant Sudoku of the sort they'd never seen before, with what seemed to be, difficult maths to do as well. So luckily, the rest of the field kind of fell away trying to do that. But let's take this on, 9x9 Calcudoku today, and see how we go. So possibly the first thing to do is to find cells. Oh, sorry, I better explain the rules in case you don't know. Basically, obviously, the grid is divided into lots of different regions, and as well as the fact that each row and column has to contain the numbers 1 to 9. Each region has a sum and the operation needed to achieve that sum. So here, 42x is a multiplication. You need two numbers that multiply to make 42 in this region. Now, in this one, you get a plus, so 15 plus must be two numbers that add up to give 15. We've got some divides. I don't think this grid has any minuses in. The normal rules for minuses and divides, when there's more than... it might have a minus or two in a 2-cell. No, I can't see any. If you get minuses and divides in these, it normally means the largest number in the region subtracted or divided by all the others gives the number. So we've got a couple of divides down here. But anyway, as I say, the rows and columns have to have each of 1 to 9 in. However, within a shape, you could have a repeated number. So this one could be 4 there, and 6 there to add up to 14. So be aware, it's not quite like Killer Sudoku in that you can have repeated numbers. Okay, so on with the solving. And as I say, this one, there's no operator here because clearly the answer to this cell is 2, and whatever way you come up with that, it gives you the 2. So that's straightforward. Now that 42 that we saw, a multiplication, that's clearly got to be 7 times 6 because there's got to be a 7 in it, and 7 times 6 is 42. And oh look, there is a minus there. Sorry, I didn't spot that. 3 minus. Now, what else can we see? This 7's quite interesting. What are the minimum numbers that could go in? Well, 1, 2, 3 in the top row, and they do have to be different in the row because each row has to have the 9 different numbers. And if it was 1, 2, 3, which is the minimum, that adds up to 7. That will have to be a 1. So that clearly is how that 1, 2, 3 box is going to work. Now, what else can we do? We may have to come up with some slightly better deductions. Down here on the first column, we've got two long 4x1 boxes that add up to 21 and 17. Well, that's 38. And now we can at last apply our rule of 45. The numbers 1 to 9 add up to 45, so the remaining cell in that column must be a 7 to make the sum work. So far so straightforward, I think. 30 times, that has to be 5 and 6. And 40 to 20 times, I mean here. Clearly there has to be a 5 in that, so it has to be 5 and 4. That fixes, because there's a 5 in this column, that fixes this 6-5 pair. So we've got a few numbers in the grid now. But we may be starting to run out of possibles. Now, here, there's another 5-4 pair down here, and we've got a 5 in the column. So we can figure that one out as well. Now we could advance straight into the sort of harder maths. 189 here. Well, 9 times 21 is 189. So there's a 7. And then I think it has to be 7139 has to be constituents of this region. So might as well fill those in as possibles. But look, these two divides with a 4. Well, 4 divided by 1 is going to be one of them, and 8 divided by 2 is the other. So they must be the numbers 1, 2, 4, and 8. This one can't be 4 at the bottom. But that fixes 1, 2, 4, 8 in this row. This is 6 or 7. This one couldn't be a 3 because that wouldn't be enough for the 22 sum. So that has to be 5 or 9. This one can't be a 5, it's in the same row. And this one could be any of 3, 5, and 9. But let's have a look at this 756. Now 7 goes into that times 108, which is 9 times 12. So we're probably looking, certainly no 5 can be in this product, this multiplication. So in fact that fixes the 5 in this column. That gives us a 9 and 8 in the rest of that box, and resolves our 4, 5 there. But now we've got this 27, and it was 7 times 9 times 12, so we've got 7 and 4 left to go in that cage, in that region. So the 3 as well can't be here. These are 1, 2, 3, so that has to be 9 and 3 there. So quite useful deductions going down around the outside there. Now, what else can we do? 7, 4, 9, 1, 2, 3. Now this 80, 8, 5, and 6 are the possibilities. Can't have a 6 because 6 doesn't go into 80. So that has to be 5 and 8. That 5 has decided the order. That therefore must be a 2 to make up the sum. And in this top one, to finish the top row, we need a 6. So that's useful. Where else can we go? This 15, there are 2 possibilities. Could be 7 and 8 or 9 and 6. These two narrow those down to those combinations. Now what about 168? That is 8 times 21, so 7 times 24. There's got to be a 7 in it, which is quite interesting in its own right. 24 can be made up in various ways though. 8, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that 1, 4, 6? Do they all have a 4 in it? No, 1, 3, 8 is also possible. So I don't think we can fill in anything else there immediately. This 9 sum can't have a 7 in, or a 4 or 5. Could be 1, 8 or 3, 6 at the moment. Where else can we find a bit of progress? I'm tempted by this row. 1, 2, 6, 5, 3 gone already. That could be any of 7, 8 or 9, I think, annoyingly. No, it can't be 9. But that could be. Okay, so we can't really get much further. What we can say, we've got 4, 7, 8, and 9 to place. If 4 wasn't amongst these 2 cells, That would be too much for the 14. The next minimums are 7 and 8. So 4 must be in that pair. This must be 8 or 9. There's a 7 down here, look. Those 4s could either go with, or they could go with any of 7, 8 or 9. And that would leave 1, 2 or 3 down here, which can't be a 2. So we can remove the 8s as a possibility. But we haven't resolved which way round they go. So this 8 can't have a 1 in it. So it can only be 2, 6 or 3, 5, which couldn't be in 5, 3 order because of this 5. Now, what else can we do? If this was 6, 8, yeah, that would leave 5, 2 or 3, 4. If it was 6, 9, well, that would leave 5, 1 or 2, 4. They're all very possible, annoyingly. Interesting. Whether this is a 2 or a 3, this will use up the other of 2 or 3. So nothing else in this row can use anything as small as 1, 2 or 3. Does this tell us anything about this 108 box? It's got to have 4, 6. Can't have 7. I don't think that goes into 108. 4, 6, 8 or 9. But that's 12 times 9, isn't it? 108. So it's feeling like the possibilities are fairly limited. 12 by 9, and we've got 4, 6, 8 and 9. So 9, 4 with a 3, and that would be possible. Is that the only possibility? I'm struggling a bit to do this in my head, actually. What are the possibilities for 108? If it didn't have a 9, if it does have a 9, it would have to be 9, 6 and 2. And we can't have a 2 anywhere in this, actually. And I think that's quite telling. So I think we're actually restricted to 9, 3 and 4. How about 6 into 108? If this was a 6, say, that would leave us with 8. 6, 2, 4. We can't have a 2. 1, 6, 4? No. Sorry, what am I saying? 6 into 108 is 18. So it would have to be 6, 9, 2. Couldn't be 6, 6. Oh, it could be 6, 6, 3. No, we can't have a 3. Right, so this has to be 9, 4, 3. And the 3 must appear here. So the 3 can't be in column 2, and these must be 4 and 9. Okay, that probably not quite as complicated as I was making out, but I'm pretty sure that's the right conclusion. Now 9's gone from this column, so this 15 has to be 8 and 7. This could be 2, 3 or 6. We're adding up to 24 here. Yeah, I don't think we can really disambiguate between those. How about in this row? Yes, that 3 has made that a 1, so we can get rid of the 7s from there, put the 7 in there, that makes this one an 8. These two do add up to 7 now. This one could be 4 or 5, and this could be 2 or 3. How about this row again now? We've got, this is the one, these actually can't be 7 now. 3, 1, 2, 4, 5, 7. This could be any of 6, 8 or 9. I think we worked out that, yeah, 7 into 168 is another 24. Well, it can't be the 9 then, but it could be 6 or 8. That's interesting. That gives us a 6-8 pair. So in fact, this has to be a 7. This has to be a 9. That makes this a 6. That makes this an 8. We can finish these off as well. 4 and 5. 15, that's a 2, that's the 9. And 56 now into 168 must go 3 times. So this is 1 and 3 in some order. 2, 9, 5, 1, 3, 6. In this row we have 4, 8 and 7 to use. 7 must be in here with either, oh no, if it was with 8 that would make this a 1, and there's already a 1 there. So that's a 2, that's 7 and 4. The 8 goes here. This could be 7 or 9, but it can't be 9 because one of those is. So it's 7. In fact, these two can be disambiguated now by the 8 above. How about these? Yes, they can't be 8 and 1. That must be 3 and 6. That sorts out 1 and 3. Suddenly, we're kind of coming in. There's a 9 in the 13 box. Well, remember, we can have repeated digits within a box, thank goodness. So there must be 1 and 2 to go in there. Now there can't be a 1 in this one because we've got 2 1s within this box, so that uses up the 1s for the 2 rows. So that can't be 1 and 4, it must be 2 and 8. This must be 1 and 4 down here. And that takes 1 out of there, so this one is 1 and 7. That fixes this 8-7 pair. This can't be 2 at the top. 4, 6, 2, 1, 7, 8. This is either 3 or 9. This is 5 or 9. And this is 3, 5 or 9. That's quite interesting. If this was 5, yeah, that could be 8. Can't be 2, but it could be 8. So let's have a look at this 24 sum now. We've got 7 taken out already, so we've got need another 17. If this was a 5, we'd need another 12. That would have to be 3, 9. That's not possible because of that. So this isn't 5, this is 9. These two add up to 8, so that can't be the 3. This is a 2, 6 pair again. So this must be 8, and that means this is 5. That's now 3. I've got 1, 4, 9 to fit in down the first column. It must fit in some way like that. That's either, that's a 6 because there's a 3 up there, so we can complete that 8 cell. Now, 240 to, actually, that's one I should have been using a bit earlier. Has to have a 5 in it, and 6 and 8 have to be the other digits. So well done if you were onto that a long way before me. That's a sensible way to go. And now we can really just finish off the rest, I imagine now. That's been resolved. The 3, 9 pair has been resolved. This 2, 6 pair. 1, 2, 3 up here must be the 2, 1, 3 order. Oops, 3. That's 4 and 9. That's now 7 and 4. 7 and 6 to go in here. Very happily, I'm not even going to have to bother doing 7 times 6 times 3 times 4 in my head because I'm certain that that works. Now, I don't think the check button works for our software here because it's not going to understand about the same boxes having the same digits. Yeah, it says that doesn't look right, but don't worry about that. That is the right solution. Well done if you got there, and you know, quite an enjoyable puzzle. Just takes a little bit of clue selection to know where to go in this puzzle to make progress. But it's a fun way of doing a bit of maths as well as a bit of Sudoku, to my mind. I do like KenKen. There's a US website called kenkenpuzzle.com where I think you can find either daily or regularly updated 9x9s and 8x8s as well. So, you know, do feel free to have a look there as well. But if you like this sort of thing, we can bring you more for sure. Thanks very much for watching on Cracking the Cryptic, and hope to see you soon. Bye.